Started back in 1973. Way back in the day, we went out to create a sense of community out of a very disorganized situation that we had in the 70s and 80s where families were coming in and there was no infrastructure of any kind, civic infrastructure, to handle the demographic change that was happening. And that's where SACA came into being. And we wanted to create a community that at that time, the words we used was self-help, self-development. That was the popular concept. But lifting ourselves by our bootstraps, and to a large part, we have, with a lot more to do, because this work is never done. So we're standing here in front of Tech Centro, which is the Workforce Development Center. It's one of the few in the Commonwealth that could say they are a bilingual technology center that is community-based. So we're really proud of that. It is the one-stop place for people in this community, and mostly people that need bilingual services that they can go to. They can come here and we can connect you to Stephen Strait, to Hack. We can do the training in-house. We'll stay with you till you get a job, and we really don't care how much money you made or all the other government regulations. If you want to succeed, you are welcome to come in, invest in yourselves, and our staff will do everything that they can for you. And then we're looking at the General Cigar, which is something that you did in your previous life here. But just look at, if you close your eyes and you look at this building and that building, and they were both boarded up, and you look at it now, it is what community development means to me. What community development means to me is different than what we hear talked about in other tables. Community development that supports and enhances the people that live here is the kind of community development we want. We don't want the community development that creates bricks and mortar and pushes people out. And so we did what we did without gentrifying the people that benefited from our affordable housing, home ownership, workforce development, and everything else have been the people here. And that's a source of pride, I think, in the organization. You know, when you reflect on the projects that have been done and the steps that the community has taken to advance, we couldn't have done it without very special people. You mentioned the Horse Group, I mentioned the Stein, and Dale High and the High Foundation have been extremely helpful. They've helped us get this technology center. So there's some investment on their part here. The Lancaster County Community Foundation also participated. It has just been a wonderful situation where we have told the stakeholders in the community, look, we will take the risk. We will do the nearly impossible. We'll go right up to the cliff if we have to, because our community requires it. All we want you to do is just help us to get there. We'll do all the heavy lifting. And you know, that message, I think, has resonated over the decades in this community. And I hope that it still will.
And over time, I mean, Carlos, you and I know that one of our main partners has always been the city. It has not mattered who has been the mayor, be it a Republican or be it a Democrat. We've always had city support for what our initiatives are, and they've been instrumental in helping us be successful through our housing partnerships that we've built, and specifically with the cigar building and this property that we're standing in front of today.
Well, you know, we get asked what our politics is. Our politics are the politics of the community. Whatever advances the community, whoever wants to help, that's who we engage. That's our politics is the advancement of this community. We don't have any room for partisanship. Never played that card.
Similarly, we've had the same opportunities with the state government where we've worked well with different administrations to help us foster some of the benefits of the state tax credit program, and so they've been instrumental in our work as well.
If we look at the neighborhood here, we've done a lot of scattered site housing. Houses on the corner, houses that, you know, all along here we have refurbished. That was that was an empty lot.
Is when we started our neighborhood revitalization strategy to acquire properties, rehab them, and provide home ownership opportunities. And at that time, if you recall, we put 12 banks together into a loan consortium.
Yes.
And everybody was saying there is no way that's going to happen. You're not going to be able to do these things. And we basically took that as a challenge to prove the naysayers wrong.
And that feeling of hopelessness is also apparent in the neighborhood. I remember we were in our first house and somebody pulled up, rolled down the window and said, you will never change anything around here. This is just the way it is. So we did a house or two, and then that same gentleman stopped in, rolled down the window and stuck his head out and says, keep going. So those are the subtle changes in people. I believe that once a community gets beyond its hopelessness and realizes that it has the ability, the power to transform itself, came over. You know, we work with this neighborhood all the time, this quarter of the city all the time. So if you do that every day, you don't realize change. It doesn't hit you. But people that come back into the community remark that, boy, things have changed. Things are calmed down. I remember this neighborhood as being crime-ridden. We had a lot of criminality going on. The change in the housing pattern tilted towards home ownership. Has pushed crime out. People who are homeowners are inclined to work with law enforcement to a greater degree. So all of the effects of picking up a house, fixing it, and selling it to someone in the community over time has had a very positive effect, so that if you talk to law enforcement, folks at the city, they'll tell you that the Southeast is not the high crime rate in the city anymore. Other areas are more affected that have had less work in the area of community development. So we're very gratified that change has occurred.
Yeah, I remember this neighborhood, Carlos, and here we probably did a handful of homes that we renovated and sold to first-time home buyers. But we didn't do this whole block, and actually this block has as you could tell with some of the plantings and everything, that people have taken the time, bought some of these homes, and have followed through with maintaining a niceness here. This is a nice block.
Yes. And you make a good point, because it isn't that we're going to do, SACA's going to do this or that. When people in this community see that we are targeting an area, other activity, private activity happens around it. And this is what you're seeing here. We didn't do these homes, but we started working in this neighborhood, and good landowners started investing in some of the properties here because we were here, and that synergy is what we want to have, both in housing and in the business.
Good morning. So we're gonna walk here down Plum Street here. This is one of our signature projects that we did, where we actually, the city had, not the city, it was PHFA had a funding opportunity for cities that would allow us to acquire a whole strip of blocks in inner city that had properties that were blighted and old stock of homes, so that we could tear them down and build new, kind of similar to what you would get out in a suburban development, a townhouse development. And so we put in an application and got funding to do, I think it was 60 homes, am I correct? Or
60 homes.
60 homes. And we picked a couple areas in the city, worked with the city, and they said, yes, we will work with you to facilitate the development. So here at one time, there was a row of homes here, and over on this side, there was some additional homes, and we ended up buying all the homes, demolishing them, and did a subdivision plan to build these new homes here. What we also did was provide parking, off-street parking that was really hard here. There was no parking here. And so we bought an additional piece of ground over here where there's parking for all these units
We
here.
have a covenant on all of our homes. We'll sell you the home, but we have right of first refusal. And so you need to give us the opportunity to buy the house, because we don't want it to turn into an investment property. We want it all to be homeowner. I can tell you that over the last 20 years, we haven't had to use the right of first refusal at all. If this family moves, we know historically, when families move, it's because their family needs to shrink, or their family needs to grow, or their job situation changes, whatever, but it always gets sold to another homeowner. So we don't have this kind of home, and this kind of situation that we've set up discourages investors to come in and, for example, rent rooms. Those are the kinds of things that we want to avoid. So far, and I could say, you know, it's a fix. These are solid homeowner neighborhoods, and are going to stay that way. And you can see the pride that people take. So this is what in the Latino community is called Centro Hispano. It was the go-to place since 1973 when it opened. And this center, this humble center, because there's, you know, it's a neighborhood facility, and it's dignified but not flashy, and it has served 4 generations of families that have needed orientation. As Jose mentioned with his parents, we've seen so many folks come through these doors and do very well for themselves. And we've created a sense that there's somebody out there to help you along. So here we have the largest senior center in the county, which is a support system for a lot of our seniors who may have a language barrier, a challenge, and who need some case management support and just camaraderie so that they can stay active. We have a community meals program that feeds people who wouldn't eat otherwise, and we feed twice a day and on Saturday. And then we have drug and alcohol and mental health outpatient services located in this building as well. So this is a workhorse of a facility. And I believe there were windows here in a barracks, and those are the windows that Jose would break for me. And Mr. Betancourt as well.
Yeah, we used to run through this building when we were little. And Dan and I and some of the other neighborhood kids.
And I couldn't catch them.
Yep. But, you know, karma does come back.
You see, karma. Well, during COVID, the organization shut down partially. So Tech Centro shut down. and a lot of our face-to-face services closed, but a lot of it stayed open. The community meals, we went to a grab and go, and as you can see, it's still grab and go. The senior center had to shut down. We hope to open it in September. You know, with under new guidelines, of course. But teletherapy.
Telemed, I think it is.
Telemed continued. So we served actually more individuals during COVID for drug and alcohol counseling and mental health counseling than before, because they could do it over the phone. And that's a feature I hope that state government will continue to allow to be used, because it's very effective. So this continued to be a workhorse force for the community. I think we serve 40,000 meals a year out of this facility. And of course, when I say that, you need to understand all the people that contribute to us, the supermarkets and some of the surplus food that we get. So it's a collaborative effort. So these two properties that are blighted, they're going to get rehabbed and sold to
those two right there.
moderate income families.
So we do have a rehab standard that we use. We're going to go in and fix all the major mechanical systems and ensure that the property's going to have a useful life that's going to be 15 years or greater for some of these systems. And we'll redo the interior of these properties, and you will go in and see the big difference there when it's completed. We can't go into any because we don't have any at any stage, but all right.
There's a story here. This
used to be a bad spot.
This is the notorious 100 block of Green Street.
And Pershing.
This was a drug supermarket and a crime supermarket, and it averaged about 6 murders a year. And I remember when we started doing the rehab, that our crew went into this house, and there was somebody in a van very dead, and we had to stop. But that was the kind of situation that of blight and decay that existed here. Look at it now. It's just a solid homeownership neighborhood. And if a house begins to decay, we go right back in and pick it up and do some rehab, and that's what we did here. So we've asked them to dig out, some of the older residents, to dig out from their memory the historic points here, because Lancaster started here in the southeast. This is where Lancaster began, and that's our brand for this quadrant of the city. This was the original Lancaster over on Howard Avenue. So they have come up with things and items to celebrate, such as the Barney Ewell commemoration, and then 16 other places in the southeast, so that people get a sense that they're living in a place that housing and homeownership opportunities exist, workforce development exists, but they can be proud of the history and culture of the neighborhood they live in. The old timers in this part of town will tell you that this building, which is now a halfway house, was a brewery in the 19th century, early 20th century. Then it became the 7th Ward Republican Club, and then it started being used as a youth juvenile residential program, and then we bought it for a halfway house for those individuals on the path to recovery that had done a very good job in their recovery program to come here to step into a halfway house. Here, folks get to work on their jobs and housing and income. The thing that really makes treatment ineffective, very ineffective, is when you have 30 days of treatment and then you're out in the street without a job or a house, and then you relapse more often than not. So this is an opportunity for us to make sure that people go from residential treatment into some level of self-sufficiency without relapsing. So this is a very important part of our behavioral health effort.
So in here we have up to 26 individuals live here at a time. I think now the census is about 21, and that's because of COVID. COVID's actually, the insurance companies have been extending the stay in the actual rehab facilities a little bit longer. So the population that would use this facility has kind of decreased a little bit for us. And but no, so when it's in full capacity, it should be about 26 individuals living here.
A lot of the individuals are alumni from our residential treatment program, but we also get people who are re-entering the community from the criminal justice system. There's a combination. You know, SACA along the way has breaking some new ground in a lot of areas, workforce development, behavioral health, certainly broadcasting. So we've always tried to be ahead of the curve, which has many challenges to it, of course. This is our vision for the community. So we had a food desert situation in the southeast, which is now being remedied by a 10,000 square foot facility. We're going to go inside so you can see it. But then the effect of development attracting other development, we got another grocer over here doing some good business. So there is no food desert anymore.
Because, you know, at the time when Giant vacated the space over on North Franklin and Walnut Street, this area of town was left without a grocery store.
This was extremely difficult to do because of environmental issues and everything else. The city put infrastructure money here through the CRIS. Community First Fund was involved here. The EDC was involved here. So, you know, all the major players got together to make this happen.
Yep.
And the results are what they are. There's a very large
Family Dollar store
serving the community here. One of the larger in their footprints. 10,000 square foot grocery, 10,000 square foot retail store. We have a restaurant. We have cell phone, a very nice barber shop, hopefully have real estate tenants in there, and insurance companies.
And we've been holding that end unit for possibly like a dine-in restaurant type of use, and we've had a bunch of folks approach us to use it for a variety of things that we don't think would match with what we're trying to create here.
The gratifying thing is that when we created these spaces, it wasn't businesses from outside the community that came calling. They were neighborhood businesses that were already out there doing business in less than satisfactory space. They got to move and expand into new space, like our friend the grocer did over here. So we're providing opportunity for neighborhood businesses to thrive. We want to continue the development here, and the effort would be to provide more opportunities for businesses to move in and create a bigger business hub in the southeast area, and that leads us to across the street where there's a Fulton Bank that's been here since 1962, and Brothers Grocery, the old grocery that moved over here. They like to combine that into a business plaza So it enhances what we've done here, and it also enhances the housing that is growing around it. After 6 years, Tech Centro has been great success. We're limited in developing growth and trade areas, so we're working with Stevens College to develop this facility here as a high-demand occupational training site. And we hope to get this ready in 2021. So by the end of 2021, we will be offering services in HVAC, plumbing, commercial electrical, auto technology, and welding.
And in addition to that, we will also be continuing the services that we have at our Chester Pershing Avenue facility here as well. So we'll be expanding those offerings over to this location as well.
And the way SACA likes to operate is the way Lancaster County expects us to operate, which is collaborate with people. Don't be out there as a rodeo rider doing things on your own, but create partnerships. So we have created through Tech Centro a partnership with Harrisburg Area Community College, and they contribute greatly to our allied health component at Tech Centro. Stevens College here will help us in the trade area, and any other partnerships that we come across, we explore and see if they work for our community. 54,000 square feet.
So obviously this is a big facility here, and so we actually own property across the street, which is a parking lot, and as you can see, this is a big site, a big building. So we're also exploring other opportunities to potentially develop here, particularly workforce affordable housing, and so we're looking into that as well. We could do a mixed-use project here, create a learning center, a technical trade center here, with affordable housing as one of the components. Would be a tremendous benefit for this community, this neighborhood, this part of the city.
The question has to be asked, why are we putting so much effort into expanding Tech Centro? And nothing can be more important to our community, the Latino community, African American community, the community of people who are marginalized. This is a pocketbook issue. This is an economic issue. We train somebody and they make $16 an hour and up. We have helped that individual and that family climb out of poverty. This is what this is all about. So it's worth our time and effort to put this in the community so that the next generation can be serviced by something solid, steady, comprehensive, that addresses the community's needs. We have to say that our core belief is that if we don't do for ourselves, nobody else will. And when they do, we're unhappy of what they do for us. So if you want it done in a way that gets you the results that you want for this community, roll up your sleeve and do it yourself. Well, not everything is services and taking care of people's emergency needs. A lot of it is quality of life. So the radio station really is a voice for the community, which we didn't have. And we're one of a small number of public radio stations in the country, Latino controlled. It also serves as a platform that allows the mainstream community to outreach into our community. So we have employers, healthcare professionals, and the schools, the political officials. They all access the station, and we tell them it's their microphone. And we also provide cultural programs. So it gives our community a sense that they belong here, that they are part of the fabric of Lancaster. And I think that radio station contributes mightily to the creation of a sense of community, a sense of pride, and a sense of belonging. We have a core of about 15 volunteers that faithfully over the years have contributed to running our programs. But we run it with 2 full-time people. And we manage to do exceptional work there, even with COVID. We stayed on the air providing information, health information to the community, and it just proves itself over and over again to be such a valuable asset.
Nuestro bolsillo, su bolsillo, la cantidad de $4 millones. ¿Y sabes qué hizo? Sí. Se compró un Lamborghini. Sí, está aquí. Sí, el hombre enfrenta hasta una multa de $1 millón por este hecho. Él originalmente pidió...
Community development that supports and enhances the people that live here is the kind of community development we want. We don't want the community development that creates bricks and mortar and pushes people out. And so we did what we did without gentrifying. The people that benefited from our affordable housing, home ownership, workforce development, and everything else have been the people here. And that's a source of pride, I think, in the organization.